All my life I had been doing things to get money. You know what I mean? Even when I was dancing, I was giving that service to get that money. And so I had already...
When you say service, what?
Just the...
2 weeks ago, rapper and media personality Yungmiami chatted with fellow rapper Saucy Santana on the Careshaplease podcast. It was the first interview for the Miami native amid ongoing controversies surrounding her former partner, Sean Diddy Combs. What was originally marketed as a no-holds-bar tell-all didn't reveal substantial new information. As Yungmiami faces a crossroads in her career, reflections on her relationship, or rather arrangement with Diddy, are rife, particularly the themes around whorephobia and the complexity of sex work and hip-hop culture.
He saw a lot of things in me, and I feel like that's like one of his specialties. Like, he know how to like find people and, you know, identify their talent.
The Department of Homeland Security conducting a raid at a house in Holmby Hills, believed to be connected to Sean Combs.
You know, it's just a good date night.
It's like a date night.
We don't put titles on it. Everybody wants us to put a title on. We don't put titles on it. This is like my best friend in the world.
I have become more aware of my sexuality and how to use it, how not to use it, understanding that sex is a power.
Yungmiami's media strategy going into this interview was pretty clear from the beginning. Since Diddy's lawsuit settlement with Cassie and the legal woes that have followed, Yungmiami has been delicate about her public appearances, obviously in hopes of avoiding questions related to Diddy's alleged crimes and her possible involvement. With this marketed tell-all sit-down, Yungmiami could safely reintroduce herself into the public sphere and, most importantly, start making money. Emphasis on money, the most crucial theme in this story. One can imagine whatever financial benefits or gifts that came with the Diddy relationship have slowly evaporated. Looking at her financial ties outside of Diddy, not many of her businesses are that lucrative. There's the Risha Roulette card game and obviously the City Girls' musical career. But the music industry is very exploitative of artists, so if the City Girls aren't touring or releasing chart-topping hits, the money dries up quickly. The Careshaplease podcast, platformed by Revolt, is Yungmiami's best career and financial investment. Rapper and hip-hop media mogul Joe Budden has noted he has made $7 million gross from podcasts in over 10 years. In recent months, she's released music that's actually set her rap career back, rather than propelling it, in comparison to her groupmate JT, who just accomplished a solid solo debut. In a gist, Yungmiami filmed the sit-down because her money and celebrity clout were running low, and she needed to get back to work. By having the first public interview on her podcast, with best friend Saucy Santana acting as pseudo-journalist, she was killing two birds with one stone, bringing attention to the season 2 rollout for the podcast, which had been all but forgotten. Saucy Santana interviewing her with predetermined questions rather than an actual journalist or reasonable media personality allowed her to answer questions she was okay with. With no rebuttals or pushbacks from Santana, she breezed through questions about Diddy. For an episode that was advertised as a tell-all on her relationship with Diddy, he was barely discussed. Immediately, the show's editors portray Yungmiami in a victim light that isn't deserved, since Yungmiami refutes she's a victim of Diddy's alleged abuse in the episode, clarifying that her relationship with Diddy was positive and that he brought out a gentle side in her. Additionally, she stated, "He saw a lot of things in me, and I feel that's one of his specialties. Like, he knows how to find people and identify their talent." A statement that is stomach-curling considering he probably saw those talents in Cassie or the many artists he allegedly exploited through his nefarious business deals. Then, back to the case of Saucy Santana being there. A relationship I'm sure is sincere in certain aspects, but what many have noted reminds you of the gay best friend trope. A good chunk of Yungmiami's recent popularity in Black popular culture can be traced back to these hysterical live streams of Saucy Santana. Does Santana have equity in the Careshaplease podcast considering he coined the name? And what does his appearance fee look like for serving as co-host numerous times? In all, the interview was just poorly strategically planned and not surprising in the world of celebrity media plays. Celebrities and their PR agencies are greatly underestimating the media literacy of their audience. We see this in the fall-offs of the Kardashians, Jennifer Lopez, and most recently Blake Lively and the controversy surrounding It Ends With Us. No longer are the days you can secretly call the paparazzi and just pretend your photos on TMZ are candids. Through the rise of shows like Succession, a lot more people are aware of Rupert Murdoch's media monopoly and can comprehend how manipulative media can be.
What's the biggest allowance, for example, that you've given someone?
About $8,000 a month.
And what made you a slut?
because I own my body. My body is not a political playground. It's not a place for legislation. It's mine, and it's my future.
It is really high-class prostitution, isn't it? It is a conduit for sex.
No matter what country you access us in, we don't allow that type of behavior on the website.
In her talk with Saucy Satana, Yungmiami notes she and Diddy didn't expect to fall in love with each other. Furthermore, that the relationship was mutually beneficial, and compared to others, she wasn't trying to get a purse, private jets, or diamonds, but rather learn some business moves from the disgraced mogul, softening the edges of their sex work adjacent relationship and pushing forth a narrative that they both elevated each other. When this narrative is critically analyzed, the evidence points to something else. Unless you're their personal accounting, it's hard to decipher the net worths of celebrities, but when reviewing information from various sources, at 30 years old, Yungmiami's net worth is around $2 million to $7 million. Diddy, age 54, is worth around $800 million to $1 billion. Despite the scrutiny that comes with age gap relationships, they are common. Dating someone a lot older than you and making significantly more money isn't entirely sex work, but it does remind you of sugaring. Sugaring or a sugaring relationship denotes an arrangement between a sugar mama or daddy and a sugar baby. Although the arrangement can mimic a regular relationship, there is an explicit financial element agreed by the two parties. In exchange for their companionship, a sugar baby is given an allowance or other gifts from their sugar daddy or mama. These arrangements can look very different depending on the consensual participants, but the transactional nature of sex and or companionship for money is key. There is nothing wrong with consensual sugaring, and the decriminalization of sex work should continue. In her 2023 lawsuit against Diddy, the singer Cassie Ventura's filing stated, although Ms. Ventura has saved up some earnings from her young modeling career, Mr. Combs' ostentatious display of wealth was intimidating to her. Mr. Combs paid for things with wads of cash and would repeatedly tell Ms. Ventura, "Don't worry about money. I have money." Mr. Combs expensed lavish vacations for him and Miss Ventura, purchased a car for her, paid for her apartment, and provided her with extensive amounts of designer clothing. Yungmiami's revelation that she and Diddy had unexpectedly fallen in love is suspicious considering the timeline of their relationship and Diddy's extensive history of controlling and manipulating his intimate partners. Months after publicly debuting their relationship, particularly Yungmiami's fawning of Diddy, he announced the birth of his 7th child in December of 2022. That same month, he was spotted kissing model Jade Rami. When questioned directly about the nature of their relationship on the Careshaplease podcast, he stated, "We date. We're dating. We go have dates. We're friends. We go to exotic locations. We have great times. We go to strip clubs, church."
There's a spectrum, the video model and the video hoe. I don't know their world.
It's very hard for a woman to, want to be with someone that's with Amber Rose. So she wasn't sending nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like I had to take 30 showers before I got with Kim, you know?
I decided to have this slut walk for women that have been through.
What do you mean? Corinne Steffens, 100% should have been in there. If you go on that, she's one of the first video vixens.
Name a video that you know of her in.
Starting from the 90s and onwards to the early 2000s, women became the focal imagery in rap videos and lyrics, male rappers peddling violent misogynist ideals and thinking to little pushback from general audiences. With the emergence of video vixens, followed video groupies, and jump-offs. Girls categorized by how far they would go in order to book a gig or level up in the industry. This stigmatization of these women claiming their sexual autonomy for capital in a culture that devalues them is referred to as whorephobia. When producer Rodney Little Rod Jones filed a new essay lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs in 2024, rapper Yungmiami was named, and any public sympathy she had left regarding their relationship evaporated. In Jones's lawsuit, she's not accused of doing something harmful, other than allegedly transporting drugs for Diddy, but just the association with him signals plausible wrongdoing. Why didn't she sever ties then, or a lot earlier?
It's always comparison. It's always like
it's always going to be comparison, but they got to understand we live a totally different life. I don't have kids.
The answer is not that complicated and ties back to money and the pursuit of fame. If hip-hop feminism, particularly the supposed female rap renaissance, is truly alive and well, the post-2010s wave is weighed down by capitalism and performative sexual liberation. The city girl's entire branding revolves around independent women getting the bag and decentering men. Male partners are viewed as financial or capital tools to level up, unfortunately a poor counterattack to the objectification of women in society. Yungmiami grew up in one of Miami's poorest neighborhoods. Since making it big with the City Girls, she's noted her priority has been supporting her immediate family. That is a lot of financial pressure for an artist I doubt makes a lot of money directly from music royalties, relying heavily on business endeavors outside of it. Diddy appeared at the right time and ultimately was too good to be true.